96900 693 13 13 32. If you'd like to speak to the Premier. Premier, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Do you accept there's a deep level of community concern about crime? In fact, there's a fear in parts of the city.
Look, I think there definitely is many Victorians. There are many Victorians who are uneasy, are fearful, challenged by the fact that we've seen, certain types of crime rise. That is a very real thing. And I don't think we'll address that. We won't fix that. We won't get across these issues unless we acknowledge it. So, I'm not pleased to have to acknowledge that, but it's real. And that's exactly why we've sat down really intensively with the Chief Commissioner and with others in Victoria Police leadership and said, look, what do you need? What can the government provide to you? And then we've wasted no time doing that, and hopefully we get a chance to talk about that today.
Well, yeah, those police, though, and Graham Aston just made the point, I think there's 400 extra. But
406. There'll be about 1,000 people go through the academy over the next 12 months. It's going to be, there's probably not a lot of room to do much more than that. Actually, it'll be a very busy place, and it needs to be, because we've got this 5, 6, 7-year trend with crime rates rising, and more recently, this spate of youth crime, whether it's home invasions, robberies. We need to get across this, and as the Chief Commissioner says, he's determined to. My job, the government's job, is to give him the resources and indeed the powers as well, Neil.
So what do we do in the meantime? It's a year.
Well,
a year before we got extra troops on the road.
No, that's
his estimate.
Well, it'll take some time to provide. Well, again, look, these monies were provided back in the budget in May. We're not wasting any time rolling it out as quickly as we possibly can. Obviously, Victoria Police are having significant success. If you look at, and I don't say that to try and explain away the problem. I can't be probably any more frank with you, Neil. Yes, it's a problem. Yes, people are in fear, and that's a real thing, and we need to address that. The task force set up, Task Force Cosmos, has already, I think, arrested more than 100 people. So Victoria Police are out there doing their very best, and the government is supporting them as best we can, as fast as we can.
We've sort of slipped behind, though, haven't we? I think it was we added 161 officers in the 19 months to July.
Oh, look, I don't have the exact numbers. What I can tell you is that there's more than 1,156 personnel, and policing's done in teams.
Well, we
it's
seem
not
to
just
have slipped back. There's 161 in 19 months.
I don't accept that at all. So there's 532 sworn officers that have been added since we came to office, and we've funded in total. They haven't all been delivered. Funded.
How many left?
I haven't got those numbers.
Well, that's crucial.
Well, 1,156 police personnel. Look, we can have a debate, and that's a healthy thing as well, about how much resources we provide to Victoria Police. But these are the facts. Nearly $600 million provided in this year's budget, just the second budget of our term in office. The biggest boost that Victoria Police has ever seen. Now, I don't say that for the purposes of bragging. That's what the Chief Commissioner wanted. That's what the Chief Commissioner got. Now, does that mean that you can't do more next year and the year after? Of course you can do more, and we will aim to do that.
What do you think about citizen patrols that are being mounted in parts of the city, and in fact some are taking up a collection for private security firms? Should that be avoided?
I think that is a direct response to the fact that many people are fearful, many people are challenged, if you like. They're uneasy about what's going on or what they might perceive to be going on. Well, as I think the Chief Commissioner has said in your interview with him just earlier on this morning, people need to be very careful that they're, of course, obeying the law themselves and that they're not getting themselves into really difficult situations that they might not be appropriately trained for. Ringing Triple O is the safest thing to do. No piece of property is worth your own personal safety, and it's very difficult, very potential. It's potentially very dangerous for people to get themselves into these spots, get themselves confronting people. Look, it's responding to real concerns. So I'm not criticising it. I'm just asking people to listen to the Chief Commissioner, leave it to the experts, be very careful. Neighbourhood Watch and other things work well. Look out for each other, of course. We're all in this together after all, but leave it to the experts. That's the best thing to do, but it is real and it needs to be responded to, and that's what I was going.
You accept that there is a crime increase, there is a crime wave.
The statistics show us that absolutely. We've got a 5, 6, 7-year trend, and we need to get across that. We need to deal with that, and rather than politicians, playing games with these things, I sat down and said to the Chief Commissioner, righto, these numbers are real. This trend is here. What do you need to get on top of this? And we developed a package funded in this year's budget, and it'll be rolled out each day, each month. And Neil, if we have to do more next year, we will.
So you'll commit long term to keep the numbers at what the police want?
I am absolutely committed to continuing to make sure that for as long as we're in government, Neil, the Chief Commissioner will come to me from time to time needing extra resources, and he'll get them.
What about
he'll come to me asking for penalties and laws and
do we need to look at penalties?
Well, to a certain extent, we already are. So if you look at some of the changes that we made around ICE, and let's not forget, whilst the home invasion issues and youth crime is very topical at the moment, there are some other underlying issues too.
Changes to bail for kids were not healthy, though. They weren't good, and we're getting reports of people being arrested, getting out and committing crimes again. This is youth crime, but very serious level.
But we've made changes to penalties in a whole range of different areas, everything from ICE to illegal firearms, and indeed we foreshadowed that later on this year we'll make some changes around everything from public order offences, so people wearing masks and things of that nature, all the way through to specific offences for carjacking. Further reform will be announced quite soon around home invasion and those sorts of issues. So we're, again, in constant communication with the Chief about the laws he needs, the powers he needs, and, of course, the resources. And we're delivering on each of those things.
I wonder if you mind putting the headphones on. We're getting calls, of course, on this issue, 96900 693 13 13 32. Sue, go ahead, please.
Hi, I've just got a problem with, you're covering it now, but there's no deterrent for these young kids. I just think that they're going out and reoffending, and we have all this talk about education and stuff, and I think you should lock them up and teach them a trade for a couple of years and give them a future rather than just, sending them out again so they walk the streets.
Well, Premier, thank you. Sue, Premier, that did come up on the issue of bail laws, and there were changes to the bail laws affecting young offenders.
Well, which
made it easier.
Well, hang on. If a young offender, and you might want to get the Attorney General on your program to go through that in greater detail, but magistrates and judges are still, and those in the Children's Court are still able to remand someone if they believe they are an unacceptable risk.
Bail.
If they believe they are an unacceptable risk.
It's not an offence to breach bail. I don't understand.
I've got a very common sense approach to this, Neil, and that is that if someone is an unacceptable risk to the Victorian community, they shouldn't be in the Victorian community. Now, at the same time,
even as kids.
Well, that is exactly right. It's about the threat they pose, the risk they pose, and if someone is an unacceptable risk, then they should be locked up. That doesn't mean, though, that you can't address what's driving some of that behaviour. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't. Absolutely, you shouldn't. We had a forum last week, the Chief Commissioner's Forum, where we had, a lot of different suggestions come forward. And back to this point about, I don't want talk fest, I want action, and that's what we're delivering. That forum last week, I was pleased to open it, and I said, look, we've created a public order task force. If this forum, this group comes up with 3 or 4 concrete ideas, get them to government, and we will action them. So you've got to do both. You've got to invest in schools and TAFE, deal with youth unemployment issues, of course, but it's also about respect, it's about appropriate penalties and punishment.
I know the courts have to be, you have to be at arm's length from the courts. We can't have...
we don't want politicians sentencing people,
I'll be in jail.
No.
But seriously, do you feel they are conscious of and representing the community need?
Well,
in general sense, not specific.
I have made the point many, many times, and I think you've just made it then. Every case on its merits, and we don't want politicians sentencing people, right? That's the first thing. But the second point I'll make, which is equally fair, is I think our judiciary need to do a better job of explaining why it is they come to many of the decisions they come to. And I've spoken to the Chief Justice about this. I've spoken to many judges in our system and asked them, could they perhaps have a close look at some of the summary judgment issues? There are other courts, federal courts, where there is a summary provided where there's perhaps a better communication strategy. It's not about justifying and impinging on the independence of the court, but if you've made a decision for good reason, then share those good reasons.
Yeah, I had Justice Lex Lazar in the other day.
I'm sure he made
exactly point.
And I don't think that's not stepping across a line. That's not compromising courts. It's just simply saying in our world today, people are entitled to the information that supports the good decision you've made, as you say. You need to get out there and explain it better.